Continued watching this while I've been getting ready to hit the road for work. And I'd like to cover this one section because the Jimmy Dore network never shows up to shit. They don't show up to shit. But Ron Placone actually showed up to this call. It's the first time I've ever seen him show up to something that he wasn't paid to do. But it sheds a whole new light on what's happening here. Sheds a whole new light on what's happening here and how these folks are in bed with the Jimmy Dore network. Let's see how this goes.
Enough of the incumbents to get it through. It was going to go down in flames dramatically today.
All right, I will say it is true that through your conciliatory work behind the scenes, we got the speaker to give it a clear path to the floor. And we got the Health Committee Chair, Jim Webb, to give it in the go-ahead. We got it out of appropriations. So I appreciate your, consultative process. But I got to say, even with all that, at some point there has to be a limit. And today should have been it, where we could have, gotten those names. And I still think that folks would have valued your position so much and the work that you have done that they would have given you a pass because you have shown that you're not about that.
So basically, Amr and the board is doing a good cop, bad cop scenario here with Ash Kalra right now. So they're being like, hey, we want to, we're not going to put too much pressure on you, Assemblyman Kalra. But we do happen to have, Ron Placone, who never shows up to anything. He's going to jump in. And Danette, who's like, has a weird-ass temper and doesn't always deal in truth-based fact. She's going to freak out, too. So let's see how this goes.
I think that helped in the Health Committee, honestly. I think that it helped. I don't think everyone was there in the Health Committee, some of whom voted for it. I think it was to allow for that work to continue. And look, this wasn't a couple of days ago, we were still not sure exactly what the vote count was going to be. This morning, we had a call with the nurses to discuss where we were. And both sides, both the nurses, the representative and my representatives that were on the phone with me agreed that we did not have enough votes. We didn't have nearly enough votes for it to pass. We had the same vote count, and so, it's the nurses know as well in terms of who to hold accountable, who wasn't there. But there's a reason why I believe that we can get more people there. I really do.
All right, Patrick, your question I'm asking you on mute.
And that's a response to whether the nurses found out the last second. They didn't. It was a conversation from early this morning when we were looking at the vote counts.
I did go too far. Let me see if I can.
We were starting to engage in that conversation.
Let me see if I can cue this up a little bit. I did go too far back. I think I went too far forward. Now I went way too far forward. I think. Okay, here we go. Here's Danette. I'll start with Danette. God, it's so hard to queue up, you guys.
Die from chronic disease that can't get in right now because of our broken healthcare system and our broken...
I couldn't queue it up properly, but if you go to the video on their Facebook page, Danette starts out eating. She's literally shoving food in her mouth while she's talking, which makes her entire performance here really questionable. Because if you're so relaxed and comfortable that you can shove food in your mouth while you're starting your question for an assembly person, and then you go into this tirade and drop F-bombs and stuff, I mean...
Hospital system, these people, you're protecting the wrong people. We need the names. You can't say that you're working on other bills. This is the one that needs to pass now. We have people dying. I don't think you realize what you've done, how much trust you've broken at this point, how much damage you've done to the
And for the dude who likes to analyze that entire ecosystem of live streamers, you can see the reflection in Danette's glasses right now because she's on a Zoom call. That is her computer monitor. So if you want a comparison of what does it look like in their glasses versus what it looks like in her glasses, that is what the reflection of a laptop looks like in glasses.
hope that we have. Okay? This is beyond the pale. I am so furious, and I can't imagine how much more disappointed Dr. Bill and the people that have worked on this issue for years are feeling right now. I hope to God.
Yeah, you notice that she references Dr. Bill because he is the one with the activism experience here. She does not refer to her own experience because it's fairly limited. But she is attached at the hip to him, and for whatever, I don't know why he wants to spend so much time with somebody this off the wall with her. I mean, she is filled with anger. She is filled with anger. But I think probably he values the fact that people are willing to run for office, and he's willing to look the other way, regardless of what their motives might be, how sincere they are, whether they have the right temperament for it, whether they're going to be true representatives of the progressive movement in a respectful way. I'd like to see, and I don't know if I have time to watch this whole thing. It's pretty long. Okay, so it looks like it was 3 hours, roughly, like I was told. I'd like to see if Dr. Bill ever gets this animated. Does he ever get this animated about the subject? Does he get this passionate? Is he willing to burn a bridge with somebody he might be able to lobby? Whereas Danette clearly is, even though she wants to go run for city council. Now, there's goods and bads to this. If you're an activist, then yeah, you should be the ones who's like, hey, I'm holding you accountable, blah, blah, blah. If you're a politician, you do it in other ways, but you do it with a smile on your face.
You don't have a family member that gets in an accident or has an illness or it gets diagnosed with cancer like my mother-in-law did. I watched her die. Okay? You will not ever have to experience that because you have the shelter of your job and your free health care that most.
I do have a question, though. Was your mother-in-law uninsured, or are you just using a health example? Because people do die. Like, even with the best medical treatment, not everything is solvable. So I think, a little more background on that might be helpful to the situation. I think another candidate who ran in Orange, Eugene Fields, probably has a better example of that because he has more detail around how he lost his mother.
People will never experience in their lives. Okay? I'm done.
Thank you, Danette. And I know a lot of folks share your passion. I mean, it's just we are just all so disappointed. And I think the point that's really well made is that, and I've said this before, Senator McCall, but I'm going to say it again because I think Danette really leans into this, is that I know you come from good faith in saying that we will bring these people along and that will help the movement by, getting them in the future. But on the other side, there's so much damage to the movement by not having a vote and crushing our souls today and not prepared for it. It's just, I know that you've made the decision you have, but I just feel that it's just outrageous.
I'm not saying, listen, I think you all are making it very clear. I'm not saying I made the right decision. And I'm not saying, that my evaluation of it is correct. I will say that when we have more members, which we're guaranteed to have more members that are supportive of single payer and 1400 next year than we do right now. The bill was going to die either way, and it was going to come back at the earliest next year anyway. That being said, knowing that we're going to have more people that are going to be supportive helps us move the few along that weren't there yet because when you get a higher vote count, when you get more people in support, and you have the opportunity to,
Well, obviously, he's giving us a bunch of bullshit. But I think the problem that we have here with people like Danette and Ron Placone, and sometimes even, I know Manuel Zapata shows up on this call and is actually defending Assemblyman Kalra. And Amr is really on the fence on this one, too. But obviously, Assemblyman Kalra is not our ally here. He shelved the bill. He didn't do what he needed to do to get this done. And now he's giving us a bunch of excuses and he won't name names. But the reality is that we have to outsmart him, not present ourselves as unhinged. Because if we present ourselves as unhinged in a dialogue with an assemblyman, and I mean, they are able to put in front of their title honorable. So this is a big deal when you show that you have absolutely no class in having these conversations. It's okay to be passionate. It's okay to be angry. But you must still be articulate and have decorum and be respectful. Otherwise, you will not be taken seriously.
continue what everyone's been doing, including, folks that have been meeting with their members, and the nurses meeting with folks, and me meeting with folks. I mean, I've spent more hours on this than pretty much anything I've done in my elected life. And so this is not something that I take lightly, but ultimately I want to make sure that single payer healthcare is successful. And I want to make sure it's successful as soon as possible. It was not going to be successful today. It can be successful next year.
Okay, well, at least I can say that there's probably 0 assembly members in the legislature, maybe 1 or 2 that would show up here to answer like this. So it's not all negative, and I do appreciate you showing up. So I'll
Really? Have you asked? Have you sent them an invitation? Have you maybe asked Sharon Quirk Silva to come and talk about homelessness? Because she has a great story there. Have you talked to Cotty Petrie Norris about homelessness? Have you actually reached out? You know what? I feel like Orange County is a progressive desert. That your South Vice chairs really do nothing to tap into our growing base of left-leaners. The fact that we're changing so much. Instead, you just let this ragtag crew of a handful of people make it as toxic as possible to do anything progressive in Orange County.
have a few more people come on with their questions. Ron, you are next.
Here it is, y'all. Ron Placone finally fucking shows up to something. Mind you, he's been Jimmy Dore's sidekick for years, and they have been trying to convince everybody to leave the party. So here he is for his performative bullshit moment where he finally shows up to a Democratic caucus call so that he can get a little airtime and show up on their live stream.
Yeah, Ash, like everyone else, I want you to name names. That's what people deserve. People deserve to hear names because, as you know, there are elections coming up. And we need to know who we need to replace and who we need to get rid of. And it seems like you are among them because you have made a very deliberate choice right now. You have chose to side with your colleagues and your insiders and special interests instead of we the people. So I hope to everyone here, we are taking note of this because, Ash, to me, it sounds like you're not worried about any consequences. Like, oh, if you don't trust me. So you are making a deliberate choice right now. What you are doing is at best cowardly and at worst deceptive. And we are sick of it. So I am asking you one more time, just like everyone else, and more people will after this, to name names. And if you don't, we will be replacing you. We will get a more single-payer friendly legislature, and you will not be among them.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about Ron's performance here. Number one, he has no idea what the Progressive Caucus has been doing to actually pull the endorsement, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy does not participate in party politics whatsoever. Dude shows up as a flat biller with stink eye. I mean, come on. Okay, you got your moment. Dude does not participate in electoral politics. So this is an empty threat. He's not going to be able to organize around this. And the Progressive Caucus has not organized around this. At this moment that I am doing this video, they have less than 24 hours to collect the signatures they need. If they pull this off, I will applaud them. I will praise them. But they're not going to pull it off.
All right. Manuel.
All right. So I guess I'm seeing him take a lot of hits. So I think I'm going to take some hits for Ash right now. I want to first and foremost say that I think it's not the best for him to name names, given how angry people are, and how a very well-intentioned.
All right, I'm going to stop there, Manuel. Give me a goddamn break. Manuel, a couple of meetings back, got mad that I was on a hot mic and I called them bitches. This guy drops F-bombs too, by the way. But the question was for Assemblyman Kalra. It was clearly, Ron is clearly there as a performative plant because he doesn't engage in electoral politics. And here's the good cop, bad cop bullshit. And Manuel would normally be the Ron Placone in this scenario, but not today. Today he has a different role. This is a very interesting way you all handled the call. I have to get ready for work, so I don't know if I can watch the rest of this. I'll try and get through it, and perhaps I'll get a call and get a debriefing on it.